So, talking about my relationship with alcohol, I don't want to say it's been tumultuous, but I mean, like, it was like non-existent, obviously, at first, before I had any, and then kind of like tried a little, and then just like went immediately, like, well, not immediately, but it went really quickly downhill and disastrous, where therein I felt it was best to not have a relationship with alcohol for a better part of a decade, and now we're experimenting again, so let's talk about it. So, I wanted to talk about my relationship with alcohol. I was thinking, like, oh, what can I do for like a story time? That would be a good one to do. I just did a conversation piece, and now I'm like, story time. There's so many things, but I like was drawing a blank. Like, what should I talk about? Like, and it's a little timely because in my back, in the back seat there, in my bag, I've got some brewskis. Got some hard root beer because I'm going here to visit, going to Calgary right now to visit my my friends. Mike's coming down from Jasper, and Jordan is playing shows. He played in Edmonton last night. He's playing Calgary tonight with the band FMC from Saskatoon. So yeah, I was like, hey, we got a hotel room. We're just gonna like chit chat, hang out, feel like drinking a little bit. And I thought maybe that's something I could talk about. So, my story with alcohol, my relationship with alcohol, in high school, small town Saskatchewan, 2,500 people, an hour from Saskatoon. Drinking as a teenager was pretty acceptable. I feel like probably in most small town, rural areas it is. Not really a big deal. Cops don't really care that much. They kind of know what's happening, and like, to their credit, for the most part, it's happening in a safe place, and they don't care as much. It's like, you know, parents host these parties at their houses, or let their kids host them on their farms, etc. Side note, this is a whole other story I'll go into one time, but I was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so some of you more commonly know them, or know them more commonly as Mormons. So that's how I was raised, like from birth and everything. So anyway, around 14, I wasn't really into it anyway. So that really didn't have a lot of sway as to my relationship with alcohol, because, like I said, around 14, I wasn't really in the church mentally or whatever, invested, believing. So anyway, yeah, people were drinking in high school a lot. It wasn't like a secret. It wasn't a big deal. It just happened. I don't know, maybe the church thing maybe played a role in me being scared of alcohol, but I don't think I was ever scared of alcohol. I didn't really have an interest. And maybe the fear with alcohol was like not being in control, and same thing with drugs. Like, I'd like to be in control of myself at all times, and so at the time I was like, you know, I want to not have anything influencing me or affecting me negatively or differently in any way. I just want to be completely in control of all my mental faculties, etc. But yeah, so it's pretty common. I remember I didn't go to parties, I guess, so I didn't really have like a lot of peer pressure to drink. I didn't have a lot of friends, and the friends I had didn't drink really. So not until later maybe, or they had like a beer or something, like they were also just kind of discovering drinking, whereas a lot of the popular kids or other people, some of them drank a lot from, you know, age 15, 16. It was part of their culture. They weren't just like figuring it, I guess they're still figuring it out, but I mean, like, anyway. So I think it was, I got roped into going to pre-grad. So people were really surprised to see me there. There's a whole other story of how I just had to manipulate my way into that situation because my mom wasn't going to let me go. Sorry, Mom. But I like made up this story or whatever, and then went with my friend Jeff at the time, not anymore. But we went to my pre-grad party. I don't remember whose house it was at. I think I remember now, but it's on a farm. Anyway, I decided to go. It was like the first party I ever went to. It was generally outside. I didn't go inside at all. and I tried a beer. So I think someone gave me a Pilsner, and I was just like, oh, like I couldn't even finish it. It was absolutely disgusting. Still is, because it's Pilsner. But yeah, it was just raunchy. Just that's not the word, but it was no good. And that was my first taste of alcohol, and I was like 17. Nah, I was not feeling it. And then, like a couple weeks later, I want to say, maybe there was like another grad thing, or there was some other event that I went to for a very short time. I tried a kokanee, and also the same thing. Like, nope, no thanks. Like, that is no good. Like, I didn't even finish half of those beers. Pretty sure they were bottles, not cans. But either way, well, I guess the milliliter content is almost the same, like 355. So anyway, I did not even come close to finishing those. Didn't enjoy them at all. They didn't really affect me because I barely had any, and no good. So I think that was a little bit of peer pressure I succumbed to. But I guess I was a little curious as well. But they were so gross that, yeah, I didn't really feel like, for my own purposes, that I needed to try them again, to have a beer or any other alcohol. So I didn't, I just like didn't drink again, like for a couple years, because I had no reason or desire to. But then when I was 19, which was like the legal age in Saskatchewan to drink, in Alberta it's 18, and different provinces and states have different things going on. But yeah, so around the time I was 19 though, I was in a relationship and it was going very poorly, whatever, it just ended, I guess. And I was very incredibly emotional and didn't want to deal with it. Sleep has usually always come pretty easy to me, but I wasn't sleeping at the time. And I bought some alcohol. I was in the area, and I bought some alcohol for some other folks at the time, some acquaintances and friends of mine, and I just picked it up for them, dropped it off, and then they were gonna go drinking that night and stuff. And then all this stuff was going on. It was crazy. It was not good with my relationship. And then my friend ended up, I decided, you know what, I want to get drunk. I want to pass out. That's what I decided. I was like, I just want to pass out. I'm not sleeping. I just want to just do it. That's my purpose. And I'm not like I had ever, like I said before, I had like maybe like a quarter of a beer twice. That would have been 2 years before. So I thought it'd be pretty easy to pass out. I didn't really know the mechanics of that. Obviously, everyone reacts to alcohol differently and has different tolerances and things. So anyway, then these people that I bought alcohol for, I went and met up with them at a park. My friend Chris came with me. He drove. At this time, actually, I was upgrading classes, and I was living with my mom again for a couple months, because I had moved out when I was 18, and then like came back. We were in Saskatoon at this time, and so I also had curfew because of some graffitis that I got caught for, like maybe the year prior when I was 18. So I had this curfew of like 10 o'clock, and usually was pretty decent at obeying that. But anyway, I decided I wanted to go and drink with them. They had a 2.6 of vanilla Smirnoff, and they had a 2-liter Coke as chaser. I remember, I think I drank half that 2.6 in like 10 minutes, and I was just wrecked really quickly, and it was really gross. So I drank all this stuff. I felt pretty wrecked. My friend drove me to my mom's house for like 10 o'clock-ish, trying to get me on time for curfew because he's a swell guy. And then I like went to the backyard, and then I was like talking on the phone with someone that I couldn't like get up. Like I felt like my head was so heavy I couldn't get up. And then I like needed to get to the front yard, and then I was like crawling on my hands and knees. I barely could do that, crawling through the grass. It was summer. It was a beautiful night, I remember, and like I had to like reach up to like grab the fence like lock thing to like open in the fence so I could get to the side of the house just for me to get in front. And then I just like got it open, and I got to like the side of the house on the sidewalk. I was still on my hands and knees, and I just felt like death. Oh, I felt like dying. I was like so I felt so ill, and just nothing like I've ever felt before or since. I just felt like I was so drunk. I was like, I'm gonna die, and then I just vomited black just all over the sidewalk. Pretty sure I had mad alcohol poisoning from how much I drank so quickly, and my body not being used to any of it. The black was probably the Coke, so I just like vomited this disgusting, and it felt amazing. I felt so much better right away. What is what vomiting is supposed to do, is get that poison out of your body. But anyway, so that was the first time I got drunk right there, and it was for the purpose of me wanting to pass out and sleep. I was immediately using it intentionally as a coping mechanism. I'd never drank casually really before, other than those 2 sips basically of beers from before, 2 years before. And then, I mean, I had no desire to really drink again for a while because I didn't have fun drinking. It wasn't like a good time, really. Like, there was a very... I drank half of 2, 6, and 10 minutes. I probably was at the park for half an hour and then went home. And I was drunk at the time, and I was having fun with my friends. I didn't really... Like, I knew that I had felt the effects of the alcohol a little bit, but really quickly the effects turned into not a social fun thing, but I was at home and I was feeling super ill. So then, maybe, I don't even think it was a year later, maybe within 6 months, I had another relationship that went real not fun, and it was a very short relationship, but she left some things at my place in this basement suite I was living at. A couple things, not like she like stayed over ever, maybe she stayed over one time, I don't even remember. Anyway, when we were having a little get together, my roommate and I, that night, had some friends over, and she wanted to come. She texted me and said she wanted to come and pick up her stuff, like sunglasses or something, I don't know, some random thing she left there. And I was just like, Kate, well, I don't want to see her, and I was like really upset about it. I was in a very emotional state, and people were over, and there was drinks, and then Tommy, his exchange student at the time, of my friend Chris's, like lived at his place, or his parents' place. Anyway, I think Tommy had some like beer from like a 2-liter, I think. Like, I want to say it was like some brown nut, like some concoction that was locally brewed at oh, what is it now? It's called the Thirsty Scholar, McGuire's. I think he got it at McGuire's in Saskatoon. Anyway, yeah, so he had this beer there. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna drink. I'm just gonna get drunk before she comes over, and then that'll help me deal with that whole stupid scenario. So I tried it. I actually had a good time. So I got a little drunk. I don't think I got too drunk. I don't really recall, like, not because of the alcohol, but because of just like, it's been a long time. So yeah, I had a good time though, and I was like, wow, like, and she came, got her stuff and left, and it didn't ruin my whole evening or whatever. So I drank some of that then, and I was like, wow, like, that was fun. Maybe I'll try drinking. Like, I never really thought about it that much because I always, again, wanted to be in control of what I was doing and myself, and I thought maybe I'll give it a shot. Let's give it a whirl. And so that kind of began my real relationship with alcohol, a consistent one of drinking. And I moved out of that place shortly after, moved in another place with some buds. We had a house, and there were, I mean, 3 of us were there the main part of the time, and then there was like 2 other people. Like, at most we had 4 people there. Sometimes it was just the 3 of us. We had a couple different people that rented that house with us, and what is going on here? Yeah, so we rented this house, and that was kind of, it wasn't a party house, but we had some parties there. We had some folks over. Both of those people drank, so I tried drinking a couple of times with them again. Still had fun. I was having fun. I never, like, okay, so first I drank that beer. I didn't enjoy it, I should say, the thing with Tommy. But then, like, I tried a couple different beers here and there. I remember I tried Kokanee again, and I was like, oh, I like this a little more now. And yeah, so I had landed on Budweiser as being my beer of choice, I guess. I remember I tried some Rickards Red, kokanee. I never tried Pilsner again because I didn't want to do that. Traditional, what is it? Something traditional ale. It's like Grasshopper brand. Anyway, I tried a couple things, and then I was like, I tried Budweiser, and it might just be the fact that the more beer I tried, the more accustomed to the general beer taste I got, and so it was easier to have that not affect my palate so negatively that whatever. But I was like, oh, Budweiser's the best. So I used to get these liter cans of Bud and drink those, and just drink them quick and drink to get drunk. I never drank like fun, good tasting beverages. I never really drank hard liquor that much. Really, like, all, it was just like not really, yeah, I just didn't, anyway. So, but I was drinking pretty, I don't know what regularly is. I don't even think I was drinking once a week, but there was like a period of time when I was 19, I probably drank for that year. Maybe it was just a year and that was it. And I remember with just different people in social situations, but never like out for dinner or out to a bar, really. I was always drinking at home or drinking and then going out with people. Like, drank a couple times and went tagging, but didn't do that very often because I was so paranoid of getting caught. But I also just like, I remember I had like, besides Budweiser and a couple beers, I had Hot 100. I remember I drank a whole Mickey. Well, I started with half a Mickey with a friend, splitting it. And I was like, oh, that's not bad. We just drank it straight. It was not difficult. It was pretty strong, though. Like, Hot 100 still got 50% or something. Something stupid. But then I remember I had one alone. And that was kind of like, that was kind of when I knew I should probably stop drinking. So before then, I think other than the beer, like, I'd gone to the bar once to drink because, like, my friends, there are two Chris's, one more of an acquaintance than a friend, took me out to, at the time was the Overdrive in Saskatoon, the good old OD, and took me there for my birthday, and I just got messed up. I think Ricky was there too. Anyway, I just got messed up on shots and everything else. I was pretty done. Like, I remember, what did I try? It was like Skittles shots and like a Prairie Fire. That was hot. I had a cement mixer. I don't remember, just shots. So got pretty wrecked off of that. Other than that, the Hot 100, that one time I had the vodka, which meant I couldn't even smell vodka or like vanilla for a while without wanting to throw up. And then the beers, just my main thing was beer and Budweiser, and that was pretty much it. I didn't really explore much. I tried like Wiser's like once, didn't like it, never tried it again. But anyway, so then it was fun for a while, but I have a history of negative coping mechanisms, which I'll probably talk about in another story time. Whoa, something is going on there. Okay. I'll probably talk about that some other time, negative coping mechanisms, for sure. But there was a time where I was feeling crappy, I guess, and not good with whatever was happening in my life, probably a relationship, to be real, because I'm emo. I remember I bought a Mickey of Hot 100 to drink by myself, and I remember drinking it all, and then my friend, my roommate at the time, one of them, had like come home during this time, and he was like, oh yeah, let's just get drunk. He didn't really recognize it as a problem. And so then he was drinking something else, and then whatever. It ended up not being a horrible time, but I remember that I almost threw up. Well, with that, I definitely felt sick, but I did not throw up. But again, then after that, I was like, man, the smell of cinnamon, just like, nah, I can't do it, man. I was like, I can't really hack that without feeling like I was gonna throw up. So anyway, I had that, and that was kind of the beginning of me thinking like, drinking alone, getting drunk specifically for the purposes of trying to cope. I was probably doing that beforehand and not really realizing it, like, let's get drunk. Like, there was one or twice, 2 times maybe, that I was like, yeah, okay, this is a crappy time, let's get wrecked. But that was, for some reason, that time really stood out to me, and I was like, hey, I should probably not drink anymore. I will say that with my relationship with alcohol, I never had a hangover. I always remembered what I did the night before or whatever. Like, I also felt very aware of what I was doing. So those negative effects that a lot of people feel, I never really felt. I never had a hangover. I got headaches over it. I never, like I said, I never did anything so wild that I didn't remember what I was doing, or I mean that I didn't have control of what I was doing. I always remembered what I was doing and was very aware. In the moment, I mean, I definitely had less inhibitions about doing things, so I felt a little looser, and like alcohol definitely had made me more hyper. It usually gave me a lot of energy. So those were the things. I didn't have any huge adverse effects, and that's why I was like, no, not for me. So yeah, but at that time I was like, I probably shouldn't drink anymore. This is about, I want to say 2000. Yeah, this is about 2006. Again, my real like experience with drinking was like 1 year of like regular drinking before the present, which we'll get to. So yeah, I was like, hey, let's just not drink, and that's all it took. Was like, let's just not drink anymore. That's it. I wasn't alcoholic. I wasn't dependent on it, but it became a negative coping mechanism that I used. But I never, like, every once in a while I would feel like I wish I would just to drink, because I'd been through some other negative coping mechanisms that I had stopped and then moved on to something else, and it's like replacing them. So yeah, I really only drank for that 1 year. Oh yeah, I had quit some other things, and you know, it wasn't that difficult really to do that. And so yeah, I just quit drinking, and that was it. And then I didn't drink for about 10 years. A little over 10 years, barely, I think. And then, like, I didn't really miss it during that time. It wasn't a part of my like social like routine, because it was something I was doing to cope. It wasn't like, it was like, oh, I drink socially with other people. I always drank to get drunk. So anyway, I didn't really miss it that much. Yeah, there was like, every once in a while I'd be like, man, I wish I'd kind of drink right now or whatever. I was like, I better not. I just didn't do it for 10 years. Just didn't do it. And I was scared of sliding back into being dependent, not dependent. I was scared of using it as a coping mechanism again. I was scared of like wanting to depend on it as a way of dealing with my problems, or not dealing with my problems, I should say. So that was a concern that I had for myself. So yeah, I just didn't do it for 10 years. And then, so the band Destrier, for all intents and purposes, comprised of me, Mike, Alex, and Jordan. So yeah, anyway, Jordan and Mike were gonna go on this magical trip to New Zealand and Australia. They might be gone like a year. Like, it was really up in the air how long they'd be gone for. I had already moved to Lethbridge at that point. I mean, Jordan was in Drumheller for a while. He moved back to Saskatoon. So anyway, right before they left, I mean, I want to say this is 2016, maybe 2017. I really don't recall right now. But around the time that they were leaving, it was May. I went back to Saskatoon. All four of us hung out, and I decided, you know what? Like, hey, I'm gonna have a beer. Let's just do it. Let's just have a beer. I went and got some Budweisers, and I drank. Man, it like, after how long I'd been without drinking, and then to go to that, it was not tasty, and I didn't really get comfortably like drunk. Like, I didn't feel great. Like, it felt weird, because I definitely like was affected by the alcohol, but it was just a weird sensation. So yeah, it wasn't great. So I reintroduced alcohol after a little over 10 years, maybe it was 11 years, and reintroduced that into my life. It wasn't that great, so I just didn't really drink again. Then I went to, maybe it was like the year after that, I guess, I went to Vancouver to visit a really good friend of mine. And, oh yeah, no, this was like at least a year after that, maybe 2 years after that. So I had this gap of like a year to a year and a half or whatever. Maybe it was whatever, I don't recall. Last year anyway, so about a year after, I didn't drink again for like around a year, but it wasn't like because of any specific thing. It was like, I just don't need to do that. Like, it just doesn't need to be a part of my life, and I didn't really have that great a time, and it was fine, whatever. I kind of felt like a little bit of like, oh, I ruined a streak. Like a little bit of that, but at the same time, it didn't lead me down into a spiral of needing to drink. So I was like, okay, well, I guess whatever, right? But I still didn't have the desire to just be like, hey, let's drink. But then I was visiting my good friend in Vancouver last summer, and he enjoys good, fine beverages and having fun with alcohol, like mixing like really fancy drinks and having very like limited edition drinks and whatever. He wants to be a connoisseur of alcohol, as well as other things. Not like he drinks it all the time, but he has like a healthy relationship with alcohol, which I don't have a model for. I don't really have a model for a negative one either necessarily, yeah, not one. I didn't experience that relationship. So then I went there, and he's like, hey, do you want to have some of this, like have some coffee or like hot chocolate with like a little bit of this in there, a little amaretto or whatever. He made me a fancy drink. I really liked it. He made me another fancy drink some other time. I liked it. I was like, man, I'm in Vancouver, I'm just like having a blast, I'm just loving life, let's just explore some alcohol while I'm here. I was really open to it, and I didn't like, yeah, it was just good. Yeah, it was a good time. Like I had a good time. So I had a good time while I drank there. I tried some Japanese whiskey that was crazy strong, probably because I'd never had whiskey before, and maybe this type of whiskey was also just like real strong. I drank it, but it was only the littlest amount, and it was pretty strong. And then I got some hard root beers. I'd never tried those before. I was like, yeah, hard root beer, that sounds like I'd be able to drink it pretty easy. Because I mean, then I was in this mode of like, why am I drinking it if it's not fun to drink? Like, beer never tasted good. It was never like, let's have a nice beer with a meal. It never tasted good to me, but it just got easier to drink. Like, it just became easier to drink, but it never was great to drink. It wasn't fun. So then my friend introduced me to like some good tasting beverages and whatever. I decided on my own, like, oh, we're gonna go to this like, where were we going? Richmond Night Market. I was like, they were having a few drinks. My friend and his partner, and so we were having a gay old time, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna get some hard root beer. So I bought some the night before. What am I saying? I'm getting the story all mixed up with timeline. I knew that we were gonna go to the night market the night before, so I bought some stuff in preparation for the next day when we were gonna hang out, play some video games, and then go to the market. Anyway, so they poured me a little bit of whiskey. I had some of the hard root beer. Felt pretty good. I think I had a hard cream soda too, and I was like a little tipsy, and I was like, yeah, and I wanted to drink the other one, but I didn't have time, because I was like, I think if I have one more here, I'm gonna be like drunk, and I hadn't really been drunk for a while, right? But I was in a great environment, and like, not to say that I wasn't in a great environment when I was with the band, but for some reason it wasn't a negative feeling. It was just like I didn't have like the alcohol did not add to my experience. It probably took away a little bit because it made me feel weird. But I was having a good time. I was a little happy with the alcohol and whatever. Then we went, and it wore off, like whatever. I didn't have the other one to really push me to that next level. So it is what it is. But yeah. Anyway, that was like good, and I think that is really what kind of initiated me wanting to try alcohol more, because like, oh, this tasted good, we had a good time. I didn't, like, I didn't revert back to like, when I came back from Vancouver, I didn't revert back to like, okay, now, well, I'm feeling not good, let's drink. That never happened. So again, I felt like this could be the beginning of a healthy relationship with alcohol. So I felt like it was kind of just it would begin a healthy relationship, because I don't really have money to go and drink all the time, and nor did I want to. but it did make me curious about trying other things, other beverages, and also like different contexts, social scenarios, etc., where maybe I would have, maybe that could add to my experience a little bit. So yeah, that was last year in the summer, and since then I had, you know, tried like an Irish coffee type thing, or like Bailey's in my coffee, and some other things, and have been enjoying that kind of reintroduction to alcohol, I guess. I have yet to actually get drunk, but it didn't happen because I just didn't have another one, and part of it was the cost, and part of it was just like, well, no, it was mostly just the cost the one time I'm thinking of. So anyway, I didn't push it. So anyway, I've just been experimenting with that slowly, and I'm not scared of using it as a coping mechanism, which is good. And like I said, this whole thing and why I decided to talk about it, I guess, was because I have these like hard root beers in the back seat that I'm going to enjoy tonight with some friends and see what happens, I guess. Like I have enough that I will get drunk if I drink them all within enough time. So like tonight might be the first night I get drunk, like actually drunk, in like, because I really don't think I was drunk that time in Saskatoon, like 2 years ago or whatever. So this might be the first time in like 12 years or 13 years, something that I've been like drunk. I don't know if I will. We'll see how it plays out, because I've gotten to a place where I'm like, oh, I feel comfortably, like I'm enjoying myself comfortably, and that it hasn't been like whatever. I don't know. So the ride of alcohol has been, it's been a journey, I guess. I mean, there's like a whole huge gap of 10 to 11 years where I didn't drink at all. So, you know, like that happened, and now I'm trying to explore things again. I think that, you know, like, I'm not scared of it. I don't judge people. I guess that's another thing. I felt like I kind of judged people for their consumption of alcohol a lot. I mean, there's obvious times where people go overboard, or they're alcoholics, or they rely on it too much. Like, I use it as a negative coping mechanism. I wouldn't want to have a partner who did the same, right? But I don't see it as an inherently negative thing by itself anymore. I don't think I need, like, I know I don't need alcohol to have a good time. I think maybe it can, because it can alter my state a little bit, it doesn't have to enhance my time necessarily, except for it being different. And sometimes doing something different enhances, I guess, an experience because it's different than the other experience you had last time or something. I don't know how to word that, but it's definitely not like, oh wow, every time like I need to drink, like, oh, I'm gonna go do this activity, I need to have a beer, I need to have whatever. I don't, and that's a good thing. You know, like I said, it's been about a year since I've been like with my friend in Vancouver and starting to like explore alcohol again and stuff more regularly, like yeah, so I'm just taking it easy. It's fun, I guess, just exploring things and having fun with it, not getting crazy. It's not a coping mechanism. Like, I really felt that I would never return to it, because other negative coping mechanisms that I had used in the past, which again I want to make a video and talk about, were so negative that there's never a time and a place for them that's appropriate, which again I'll talk about in depth and at length in another video. But this is something that's like, I mean, this is in between like food, like, and the other things. Like, people need to eat food, and you can turn food into a negative coping mechanism, which I still feel like I'm dealing with. Whereas drinking alcohol, you never need to drink alcohol, but you can enjoy it casually, and it doesn't ever have to be a problem. You never even have to get drunk once in your life to enjoy alcohol, right? It could just be a part of just what you do. So yeah, I feel like now I've got a healthy relationship with alcohol. It's not, I'm still like, it's like I'm discovering it, rediscovering it, having a new relationship with alcohol, because the one I had before was very negative, and now I feel like I'm getting to a positive place where I can enjoy it casually. I think that, like I said, I never thought I would get to that place. I always thought, like, nah, that's off the table completely now. I don't want to go down that road again. I don't want to use it as a coping mechanism. And now that I know it's within reach because I've allowed myself to drink again, I really feel like, because of how much time has passed and how I've matured as a person, an individual, and what I do that's healthier for myself now, that I don't think I will ever return to using alcohol as a negative coping mechanism. So, that's my story time about my relationship with alcohol. But that's the relationship that I've had with alcohol, and that's where we're at. And I don't know, I just felt like talking about it because it's still new to me in some ways. So we'll see you on another time.